Hi, everyone. My name is Omar Awan, and I'm the Associate Vice Chair of Education at the University of Maryland School of Medicine in the Department of Diagnostic Radiology. I'm also the Associate PD for the Diagnostic Radiology Residency. I want to do something different this week. Instead of the USMLE domination tutorials, we'll take a break for this week and we'll talk about how to ace your residency interview from the PD perspective. And I think this is very relevant because you guys have all just turned in your EROS applications. So this will be a nice review of what you need to do from our perspective to really shine on that interview day. Because I know that's been a source of a lot of anxiety for a lot of residents. A lot of residents have come to me and asked me for tips. So I figured, why not just share this knowledge with everyone across the world. So first of all, why is the interview so important? In fact, it's extremely important. The interview is the most, if not one of the most, if not the most important parts of the residency selection process. It's the major factor that influences your rank on a program's rank order list. And I want everyone to understand that, because if you've got an interview, you've made the cut. You're good enough to be a resident in the program that has offered you an interview. The PDs have already looked through your board scores, your dean's letter, your grades. You meet their criteria and their status, and they're pleased with your academic record and your performance. Now it's a matter of, will you be a good fit in their residency program, in the culture of the program? And that's what they're trying to tease out during the interview process. So rest assured, if you guys are getting interviews at a program, if you got an interview at MGH, Harvard, you got an interview at Stanford, you got an interview at UVA, Maryland, wherever it is, you're good enough to be in that program. Now it's a matter of you performing on the interview day, okay? You should also just use the interview day as an opportunity to learn about the program, to learn about the program's strengths and weaknesses, because ultimately you're going to be training there for several years. So, whether you're going to surgery, radiology, internal medicine, family medicine, OBGYN, whatever it is, you want to learn about that program. Just like PDs are trying to learn about you, you should also want to learn about the program. You should use that as the interview as an opportunity to learn about the program. It's also an opportunity for you to demonstrate why you are a great fit for the program. And that's the key. You want to, especially if it's a place that you really want to go to, you want to show them that, hey, this is what I have to offer, and this is why I'm going to be a great fit in the culture of your program. If you can do that, you'll be very successful in the interview process. And now there's obviously obvious things that I hope everyone already knows about the interview, but it's worth mentioning again. You obviously want to dress professionally. You all know what that is, so I don't need to sit here and address what dressing professionally is, but treat it very professionally. There's nothing worse than coming in a t-shirt and shorts and coming into the interview. Obviously, that's just not something that would be looked upon favorably. You want to maintain eye contact. That's very important, especially in the virtual setting. Remember, this year all interviews are virtual, right? So you want your eyes to look into the camera. And I've, even last year when things were virtual, I remember interviewing candidates and, they weren't looking into the camera, they were looking somewhere else. They're looking at their cell phones. You definitely don't want to do that, right? I mean, you only have 20, 25, 30 minutes to make an impression, right? So the last thing you want to do is respond to a text while you're in an interview. And I think that's obvious. It goes without saying, but definitely worth mentioning because the virtual platform can be a little tricky because you're not there in person. So you want to present the best version of yourself in those 25 or 30 minutes, and you want to maintain good eye contact and give your interviewer the attention that he or she deserves. Obviously, smile, show your humanity. I think that, again, that goes without saying. Just be yourself. I mean, smile and, show that you're a pleasant person, when you're, and hopefully it's natural. Being yourself is very important. I know that's a cliche and people say that all the time, but it's very true. There's no unique formula for success. If you're a very verbose person, you're passionate, let that come out. If you're passionate, if they ask you why do you want to go into dermatology and you absolutely love dermatology, let that show in the way you speak and in your tone of voice. If you're a very quiet, calm, collected person, let that show. Show your poise and your ability to be calm and collected throughout the entire interview. I've scored very good scores on people that are very calm. I've scored very good scores on people that are very verbose. There's no formula for success, but just be yourself and do it in a way where you can engage the interviewer. Another very important point is to be nice and respectful to everyone you meet. not just your interviewers, but even the residents that you're going to interact with that day, even the program coordinator, the program manager, they all have a say, believe it or not. I'm there in the room when we're doing the rank order list. The program manager and the program coordinator are there as well. So if you didn't treat him or her appropriately, that's going to come out, and that will decrease your rank on the rank order list. Okay. And the same thing is true for residents. The residents usually have a big say in who's coming into the program. So please be respectful and courteous to all those people. It'll go a long way in securing the residency position that you want. I also want to talk about some less obvious tips that people may not be aware of that I think can be helpful to you. I think it's always important to strike a balance between preparation and spontaneity. And what I mean by that is a lot of us prepare significantly for our interviews, as you should. You should all have well thought out answers to why you want to go into surgery, why you want to go into ophthalmology, why you want to go into radiology. You should have well sought, carefully sought out answers for, tell me about yourself. But there should also be some element of spontaneity. It shouldn't be so rigid. Like if someone's asking you why you want to go into family medicine, you say, I want to go into family medicine because of A, B, C, and D, and you're just spitting out exactly what was said in your personal statement. That can come off as too rehearsed or maybe even too polished. You want to have some spontaneity associated with the way you're speaking. It should really be a conversation. The best interviews are the ones that feel like a conversation between two people. And it's not just a series of questions being asked, answers being asked, next question, answer being asked. Try to find a way where it can be a natural conversation, because those are the most memorable interviews. And oftentimes some of the interviewers will ask certain questions to invoke spontaneity. So for example, I've heard some interviews ask, if there was one thing that you could change about yourself, what would it be? If there was one superpower that you could have, what would it be? So these are questions that may throw you off, but they're really geared to assess if you can respond in a very spontaneous way that's very natural and genuine, as opposed to just freezing and not having a satisfactory response. So, that balance between preparation and spontaneity is something that not many people have mastered, but those who do score very well on the interviews. The other thing is providing insights that support your application and add to your application. So what I mean by that is, your answer. So for example, like, why do you want to go into anesthesiology? Your answer should, support what you've already said in your personal statement, but maybe add something that the person didn't already know, because, the PDs and the interviewers all have read your applications. They've read your personal statement. They've read your CV. They know what you've already said. So if for example, part of the reason why you're going into the field is because your father is an anesthesiologist and you want to emulate some of the things that he's done, maybe provide some insight as to why you see him as such a role model, that, or a story that wasn't in your personal statement, but will give them some insight as to, why you think he's a role model and what influence he or she had on your career, on your vocation. That can be very powerful. It'll teach something to that person about you that they didn't already know based on reading your application. And that can be very powerful in increasing your interview score and hopefully getting you your spot in residency. Be attentive to details. That's very important. You guys need to learn how to read the interview process. If you're in the virtual reading room and you see your interviewer has a Kobe Bryant poster behind him, he obviously is a basketball fan. He or she is obviously a basketball fan, or they enjoy basketball. So maybe, and if you like basketball, that should come out somewhere in the interview process. Try and read some of the cues that are around you. Try to read, if the way, your interviewer is responding to some of your questions, if they like or dislike some of the things, try and feed off of that and build your conversation around that. Be attentive to the details. Read the cues that are occurring between you and your interviewer. That's very important. Remember, it's a conversation, so it shouldn't be as much as you want to rehearse it. Really the best interviewers are the ones that can feed off of the cues that are occurring during that 20 or 30-minute exchange. The other thing is that number 4 is let the conversation come to you. And that's really important. I've interviewed numerous people where people force the conversation. Like, they don't let me kind of lead. And I'm not saying I'm leading the conversation, but, I'm kind of asking the questions. The interviewee should answer the questions, but make it a conversation so, we can keep exchanging back and forth. in a very natural way, like I'm talking to you at a coffee shop or at Starbucks or something like that. You don't want to, force conversation or force topics or just keep asking questions that you want to ask. Let the interviewer ask the questions and feed off of that, answer it, and maybe hopefully that'll lead or spawn new conversation in a different way. Be mindful of the tone that is occurring, and be receptive to the way the interviewer is leading the interview. Please don't force the conversation. And the last thing is, ask insightful questions. Very important. The last question you're going to get in all interviews is, do you have any questions for me? And you definitely don't want to have no questions. That shows lack of preparation. That shows lack of interest. You definitely want to have one or two very insightful and genuine questions that you want to ask, because at the end of the day, you want to ask questions that show that you're interested in coming and joining that residency family. You know what I mean? You want to be able to ask a question so that the person is like, oh, wow, this person is actually interested in my program, or this person really wants to come here and he or she is serious about it. So, if you're interested in education, you can ask something like, are there formal opportunities to train in medical education? If you're interested in global health, what type of global health activities or opportunities are there? I noticed in your presentation that, residents went to Nigeria and Ghana. Would I be able to do that? Is there a formal structured curriculum where I can do that? These questions kind of show that you're interested in the program and that you have a real genuine interest and maybe a passion for it. And, you're not just asking this question for the sake of asking the question. And don't ask the same questions to every single interviewer that's interviewing you, because again, we all meet in a group and discuss all the applicants. So that's going to come out. So be genuine, ask questions that you really want to know about and you really want to hear about. If you do these things, I promise you, your interviewer will be very successful. You'll score very high, and hopefully you'll get the residency of your choice. You guys all are going to do great. I'm voting for you. I hope that everyone gets the residency that they want. There's no reason you guys can't. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments below. If there are other topics that you would like me to discuss, I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form that I can from a PD administrative perspective. I'd be happy to do that. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.